All right, what's up? Welcome to Heroes and Villains of Literature. And today I'm going to be talking about probably the most fucking frustrating thing I've ever seen as a fan of the Vampire Chronicles. I don't have words, but I have words. You know what I mean? So let's start off with this. Makers of the show, this is called a book. Interview with the Vampire. You see that title? This is called a book. This book, in particular, written by this woman right here, this book is what you're basing your show on, right? Did you actually read the fucking thing? Did you read it? No, it doesn't look like you fucking read the book. Now that I've said that, let's get on with this fucking clown show you guys call Interview with the Vampire. So obviously, if you're watching this from the beginning so far, you can tell I'm pretty fucking pissed about this. Now, before you guys start in the comments with the you're racist, you're homophobic, and blah 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 blah, I like it, this, that, and the third. Just slow your fucking roll, okay? I've been a fan of the Vampire Chronicles. I've read every single fucking book from teenage years, right? I'm almost 40. I've been reading these books since I was 15 years old. I own every single book. I read them religiously like they're fucking gospel, okay? They're my favorite books in the entire world. And that's where this rant is coming from. That's the place my anger is coming from, okay? So, let's get fucking started, shall we? Jesus Christ. So, the show has the correct vibe, like the atmosphere, right? It's New Orleans, early 1900s, which makes no fucking sense to me because Louis was made in the 1800s, and Lestat was not 200 years old when he made Louis, not even close. So, right off the bat, those are two gripes. But let me get my thoughts organized, okay? For a second here. So, let's change something. I want to change views. And I'm doing this on a single screen, so bear with me. So this right here is Louis de Pontelac as played by Brad Pitt in the original movie. Now, Louis' iteration, or Brad Pitt's iteration of Louis, was purely fucking flawless. He looked like Louis in every way. When I read the books and I think of Louis, I think of Brad Pitt in this movie. Okay? So, that's the perfect Louis. Now, here's the Louis they gave us in the show. This Louis, instead of being a sugarcane plantation owner in New Orleans, made him instead a gay black pimp in New Orleans. No. They also made him not depressed, not, forlorn, not melancholy. There you go. That describes Louis, melancholy. They made him just your basic New Orleans pimp. High-spirited, gangster. Like, Louis is none of those things. None of those things. That is not Louis, right? So, yeah, that's what they were, yeah. So, I haven't seen the episode yet, but they've already leaked it. So, this is the Claudia they gave us in the movie, right? Kirsten Dunst as Claudia. Now, even back then, Kirsten Dunst was too old to play the role. In the books, Claudia is a 5-year-old child that looks like a China doll. But this was a pretty close iteration. I can live with this version of Claudia. What I can't live with is motherfucking AMC's version of Claudia. Right? That girl is not only black, but looks to be about 17, 18 years old. Right? The whole point of Claudia's story is that she's a child that was turned into a vampire. Color plays no role in it other than her description in the books as looking just like a China doll. Now, back in those days, China dolls were white with blonde curly hair. We all know that. So, that's where they fucked up with her appearance. I can live with her being black. I can't live with her being 17 years old. Because her entire story arc is based on the fact that she was 5 years old when she was created for Louis, to keep Louis with Lestat, to get him to feed on humans again, because he was living off of animals. I'll get to that in a minute. And after about 80 years of living with Louis and Lestat, she starts asking questions. She starts becoming angry of the fact that she's not growing up, that she's not developing as a woman, and all of that stuff. And she starts to resent Lestat for this. Now, here we have, like I said, a girl who's about 14, but okay, I'll go back, a little, between 14 and 18 years old. So how is that part of the story going to work? What's she going to be angry about? She's already developing as a woman. What's she going to be angry about? So they're going to obviously change the story of Claudia to meet with whatever woke fucking culture explanation they plan to offer. It's ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous. Now, Lestat, the guy who plays Lestat, I can live with that. It's not exactly how I envision Lestat, but it's not exactly not how I envision Lestat. He's got the mannerisms down. Yeah, I think he overacts a little bit, but I can live with him. So, I don't know, man. It's just this show is nothing but missed opportunities so far. So, I'm going to get into some of the finer details of the show after going on that little rant about the characters. So, the atmosphere of the show is correct. It's in the right place. It's not at the right time, but whatever. It's only like, a 2 or 3 decade difference. Not that much should have changed. What does anger me is they completely rewrote Louis' story. Like, if you plan on doing the rest of the Vampire Chronicles, the story you're doing now is not going to fit. You're going to have to rewrite the entire Chronicles. The same thing with Claudia. You're going to have to rewrite the events in Paris. Like, what happens to Claudia? You're going to have to rewrite that. Because it just does not fit. It doesn't fit with either one of those characters. So, Louis was not a gay pimp in New Orleans. He was a sugarcane plantation owner. His brother Paul did not kill himself, especially like that after a wedding. That didn't happen. No. What happened in the books was Paul wanted Louis to sell the plantation and the sugarcane farms and use the money to go over to Europe and do a mission. Because Paul was not crazy. He was just extremely religious. Extremely religious. And what had happened to Paul, how he died, was after a huge argument with Louis over money. He was walking down the steps out of Louis' office, and a wind gust took him. He fell, and he cracked his head on the flagstone. So his actual death in the show matched. He cracked his head on the flagstone after falling, but the way it happened in the show was not the way it happened in the book. Another thing, Louis says in the show that he had to borrow money from Lestat in order to buy the Fair Play whorehouse, right? So, in the books, at the time, Louis doesn't even know Lestat is rich, let alone how old he is. You know what I mean? Louis in the book believes that Lestat made him in order to have access to his fortune and his lands and his slaves, which are non-existent in the show. There's no slaves. So, which means since there's no slaves, they can't rise up on the plantation owners, Louis and Lestat, and they can't burn the house down, and Louis and Lestat can't flee to New Orleans, and all of that stuff just will not happen. It just will not happen. So they're going to completely change the story. For what? For what? Yeah. No. I was really excited, man, and I really wanted to like this, but there's just so much. Another thing. Okay, I forgot about this. Daniel Malloy. The guy who's doing the interview on the show, he might not seem like that important of a character to you, but if you read the books, he actually is. He becomes a vampire in the books. He is made by Armand or Marius, one of the two. You know the painting that Daniel Malloy was looking at in the dining room in Louis' grand majestic fucking flat that he never fucking lived in the books because he was so melancholy as a vampire that he decided to live in abandoned, dilapidated houses and never change his clothes. Like, they got Louis all wrong. He didn't drink blood in front of humans. Like, he didn't have servants serving him live foxes at a table. What the fuck is that? Anyway, back to Daniel. In the show, they made Daniel Malloy like 85 years old. And in the books, no, he's like early 20s, man. And after Louis tells him his story, he's then stalked by Armand the world over and is eventually made by Armand. I'm pretty sure it's Armand. And he becomes a companion of Marius for a good amount of time until the events of Prince Lestat. And then Daniel Malloy just gets absorbed into the court. And that doesn't look like any of that is going to happen. They could have used this actor for David Talbot because during the events of Tale of the Body Thief, David was in his 80s. You know what I mean? And then he switched bodies and became young, and then Lestat made him. So later on, David is young, but he starts off old. Missed opportunity. Why did they make Daniel Malloy? Like, you can't make him a vampire at this point. What are you going to do? What are you going to go into the next season and do like Queen of the Damned or Tale of the Body Thief and then make Daniel young again? Or are you just going to make him an old-ass vampire? Now, there are no old vampires. They're all young when they're made. No one, I think, physically, Marius is the oldest vampire. Maybe Farid. Marius was in his 40s when he was made. Farid was a doctor. You know what I mean? But none of them were above the age of 40. And this guy is like 70s, 80s. He's got gray hair and shit. What the fuck are they doing? Why can't they just get it right? Why does Hollywood feel the need to take liberties with an established story? To fit what criteria? To fit the expectations of the LGBTQ community? To fit this fucking woke culture that's ruining everything right now? Every character is black or female that's not supposed to be black or female. This is the one story where you don't have to do that because it's so progressive and so inclusive, right? The story isn't all white vampire males. It's not. There are female vampires. There are black vampires. There are children vampires. There are some that were gay. There are some that were straight. They all love each other. Why? Why change the story when it's all already fucking laid out in front of you? I don't understand it. Anyway, thanks for watching my rant video. I'm going to go into more detail in later videos because I am going to watch this fucking dumpster fire of a show just so I have more to bitch about later until they fucking fix it. Later.